Good evening. The December 13th Business Board meeting of the Newark Board of Education is now called to order.
Good evening. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 1046 et sec, adequate notice meeting has been provided by advertising Star Ledger, El Nuevo Coquí, Haiti Progress, and Luz Americana newspapers, and by distribution to the administrative offices of the Newark Public Schools. A copy of the meeting notice was also forwarded to City Hall for posting. This is a board business meeting for Tuesday night, December 13, 2016.
Thank you. Please rise for the flag salute. I put flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Chair Basketball Richardson.
Present.
Ms. Carter.
Present.
Vice Chair Fonseca. Ms. Gaddy.
Present.
Mr. Jackson.
Present.
Mr. Lewis.
Present.
Ms. Owens.
Present.
Mr. Padilla. Mr. Salinger.
Present.
Quorum is present, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We are going to move to item 4, Board Chairperson's Report. Committee Chairperson's Report. Ms. Wilson, do you mind giving an overview of the business meeting? I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, members of the community, associated staff. Yesterday evening, we held the district's finance committee meeting. In attendance was Antoinette Baskerville-Richardson, my secretary, and myself. The meeting was called to order at approximately 6:50 yesterday evening. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. The meeting was called to order at 6:50.
Public schools on the second day of Christmas, preserve gates.
Excuse me. This is a meeting of the board. We would like to have the respect of being able to carry on the business of this board if this meeting is to proceed.
Christmas, preserve gave to us no local control, more school closures, and the one Newark that closes public schools. On the fourth day of Christmas, preserve gave to us more teacher layoffs, no local control, more school closures, and the one Newark that closes public schools. On the fifth day of Christmas, preserve gave to us fake community schools. More teacher layoffs, no local control, more school closures, and the one Newark that closes public schools. On the sixth day of Christmas, preserve gave to us a budget deficit, fake community schools. More teacher layoffs, no local control, more school closures, and the one Newark that closes public schools. On the seventh day of Christmas, preserve gave to us more charter schools, a budget deficit, fake community schools. More teacher layoffs, no local control, more school closures, and the one Newark that closes public schools. On the eighth day of Christmas, preserve gave to us overcrowded classrooms, more charter schools, a budget deficit, fake community schools. More teacher layoffs, no local control, more school closures, and the one Newark that closes public schools. On the ninth day of Christmas, preserve gave to us overgrown schools, overcrowded classrooms, more charter schools, a budget deficit, fake community schools. More teacher layoffs, no local control, more school closures, and the one Newark that closes public schools. On the 10th day of Christmas, Chris Earth gave to us. Hundreds of displaced students, under-enrolled schools, overcrowded classrooms, more charter schools, budget deficit, fake community schools. More teacher layoffs, no local control, more school closures, and the one Newark that closes public schools. Day of Christmas, Chris Earth gave to us. One school board veto, hundreds of displaced students, under-enrolled schools, overcrowded classrooms, more charter schools, a budget deficit, fake community schools.
Madam Chair, it don't look like we're going to be able to conduct business.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Lewis.
It don't look like we're going to be able to conduct business tonight, so can we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Are you making the motion?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a motion on the floor to adjourn. Is there a second? I'm sorry. Did someone second the motion? Ms. Carter second the motion. There's a motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting. There will be a roll call vote.
This is a motion to adjourn the meeting. Moved by Mr. Lewis, second by Ms. Carter. Ms. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Gaddy?
Oh, the one new
No.
plan is frightful.
Mr. Jackson?
And we try to be delightful.
Mr. Lewis?
Now we need
Yes.
local control.
Ms. Owens?
Surf must go, surf must
No.
go, surf must go.
Chair Baskel Richardson?
Yes.
Won't show no signs of stopping.
I got 3 yeses and 3 noes, so the
You
motion
didn't
doesn't
ask
carry.
Phil.
Thank you.
You didn't ask Phil.
I missed Mr. Salinger. Mr. Salinger?
Surf must go,
No.
surf must go,
No.
surf
Motion fails.
Oh, the one Newark plan is frightful, and we try to
Okay.
be the light for holiday songs. It's okay. Now we need local control. Surf must go, surf must go, surf must go. We won't show no signs of stopping. Yeah, we'll keep it popping. We ask for no veto. Surf must go, surf must go, surf must go.
Ms. Wilson, you want to resume your report?
The meeting was called to order at 6:50. We began discussion of the finance agenda. We discussed all of the items in section 11 of the agenda, including monthly business reports, purchasing items. There was a facilities item for the Capital Projects Board. We then proceeded to discuss the district's NJ CUSAC, DPR, and SOA submission in the areas of finance and operations. We also discussed, there were some topics that were on the agenda that we moved to next month based on the lack of a quorum. We were also unable to vote for the November 14th minutes for approval. The meeting adjourned at 7:20.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Wilson on the report? Is there a motion to accept the report?
Motion.
Ms. Carter, second. Mr. Lewis, motion to accept the Finance Committee report of December 12, 2016 as delivered by SBA Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Report accepted.
Thank you. Next, we have the Personnel Committee report by Board Member Carter. Chair of the
Good evening,
committee.
everyone. Sorry for my voice. This Personnel Committee meeting took place on December 8th. It was called to order at 5:18. Those in attendance were myself, Leah, Larissa, Robert Gregory, the Chief Academic Officer, Brad Haggerty, Andrea, Lizzie, Sarah, and Lorette. Absent were Donald and Phil. So there were a few things we talked about. We talked about the CUSAC District Performance Review. The district reviewed the process through which each district must complete an annual statement of insurance and a district performance review, which is a DPR, every 3 years. The group reviewed the content of the 5 items pertaining to the personnel of the NJ CUSAC statements of insurance, which we totaled ourselves at 100%. Then we spoke about Central High School. Assistant Superintendent Gregory provided an update on the staffing needs at Central High School. While additional needs have been identified to address overcrowding, the school has not found quality candidates to fill these positions yet. The school did select a health and physical education teacher to address the overcrowding in the health classes. The school is also exploring creative ways to maximize current staff, such as having an ESL teacher also teach French as a foreign language, which will happen in advance of the next semester. A larger fix for next year will also involve changing the school's master schedule, the course sequence, and the class offerings to maximize opportunities in the schedule to further reduce class size. However, it wouldn't be beneficial to the students to do so at this time. The school, and the Assistant Superintendent Gregory has also met with the enrollment team to ensure that the enrollment team supports to ensure to prevent this from happening moving forward. We also talked about Shabazz staffing. I asked a list of employees hired at Shabazz using community school grant money. I also asked for clarification of the reallocation of the SIG monies that have been discussed in a separate committee. Assistant Superintendent Gregory indicated he would share the information with the committee. We also talked about the attendance duties. The Chief Academic Officer Haggerty provided a template that schools are currently compiling to outline the staff who are responsible for the attendance duties at the school site. The district will use this to telecommunication to people when policies are changed and to create different distribution lists. Board Member Carter requested a complete document for all schools in January. The document we were provided was just with the breakdown, but it still didn't identify who in the school was responsible for doing what task. An update on instructional vacancies. The district shared an overview of the 60 current instructional vacancies across all schools. After filling 8 vacancies since the previous meeting, certain vacancies also became new due to the resignations or retirement. In 2015-16 year, at this time, we were at 121 vacancies, whereas now we're only at 60. Since the last Personnel Policy Committee meeting, the district attended a job fair at Kane, and they're reestablishing their relationship with NJCU, and they're hosting an info session next week. There were 41 separations since our last meeting. Then we talked about the manager district and charter operations. The district's top candidate, as was mentioned at the previous meeting, took a position with the New York City Department of Education. So the position has now been reopened. The agreement is that as posting goes up, Board Member Carter will sit in to observe an in-person interview after the phone interviews have been completed. The district clarified if there were any specific questions that board members wanted to address. None were raised at the time. However, if there are any board members that would like that candidate to be asked specific questions, just email them to myself and Larissa. There was an update on a personnel transition. Board Member Carter provided an update on his work, including a summary of our recent meetings with Patterson's board and district representatives. The group discussed how to gather more information from other boards as well as legal counsel to understand what practices look like in other districts. In that meeting, we spoke about what it would look like as a board for us with the return of control for personnel and what that means for us. And one of those things is that we would be able to vote on hires. We would see the final candidate's resume, and we would be able to say yes or no. There's some other things that Patterson are doing that we're looking at, but we're also trying to look at other boards who may not have been under state control to see what those best practices are, so that once we do fully get it back, we can move in the right direction. There were new items: employee health policy resolution. The committee reviewed changes to the employee health policy, including that an employee who is cleared by a physician no longer needs to be cleared by the district's physician. Local 68 contract ratification. We reviewed the summary of the changes for the newly ratified contract for custodians and senior custodians, including components for performance pay was added. The modification for overtime longevity was taken out, and the stipends for boiler license were taken out. We also went over teacher salary compensations for other districts. The district shared the summary pursuant to the board's request of how our current salary guide compares to other districts surrounding us. And there's an understanding that we were competitive The district matches salaries well at the beginning steps and at the more experienced steps, but we're not competitive in the middle steps, which may be where we're losing some of our teachers. And then we went over the tenure charges for inefficiency. We'd agreed to table that discussion, and the meeting was adjourned at 6:55.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Carter on her report? Is there a motion to accept the report?
I have Ms. Gaddy. Is there a second? Mr. Lewis. Motion to accept the Personnel Committee report delivered by Ms. Carter. The meeting occurred on December 8, 2016. Moved by Ms. Gaddy, second by Mr. Lewis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Motion carries. Report accepted.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll have the Program and Instruction Committee report by Committee Chairperson Ms. Owens.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Program Instruction Committee Chair Leah Owens, Vice Chair Dashe Carter. The meeting was held Tuesday, December 6, 2016, from 5:40 p.m. to 9:24 p.m. Board members attending, Leah Owens and Dashe Carter. Board members absent, Crystal Fonseca and Kim Gaddy. Administrators attending, Dr. Kayla Perkins, Assistant Superintendent Erskine Glover, Brad Haggerty, Edward Hugh, Gabrielle Ramos, Samantha Messer, others, Elizabeth Gelber, Marissa Castillo. Agenda items discussed. The main topics were field trips and field trip procedures, manual curricular presentation of language arts literacy, including update on Learn Zillion usage, update on the South Ward Community Schools Initiative, discussion of 6 core strategies focused on Belmont Runyon, and update on funding, enrollment, overview of the 2017-2018 Universal Enrollment Communications and Application launch, update on wait lists, including question on Peshine Pre-K, deep dive on 9th grade at Eastside enrollment data, update on audit enrollment, update on Central High School. CUSAC District Performance Review and Statement of Assurance for IMP, Policy Review, Remedial Instruction, 7 resolutions, 5 out of Finance and Operations, the 2016-17 Elementary and Secondary Education Act, No Child Left Behind Act, Consolidated Revised Number 2 Application Resolution, School Improvement Grant Cohort 4R, Permission to Accept Funds and Affirm Program Purpose, an amendment for Malcolm X Shabazz, Medical Consultant Purchasing Reference, Amendment to Resolution 8745, Renewal of Power School Software, Whole School Reform Model Providers, and 2 resolutions under Program and Instruction, Nursing Services Plan for 2016-2017, Authorization of District Field Trips. Smaller topics were an update on academic supports for Carver. Important points of information. For the curricular presentation on language arts literacy, Samantha Messer, Executive Director of Literacy, presented to the committee. Language arts literacy is a focus of this month's superintendent's report. Ms. Messer reviewed the 5 pillars of reading and the district's goal to build both skill and knowledge. The presentation showed literacy instruction through the lens of an NPS 8th grader. Expeditionary learning is the curriculum used for grades 3 through 8 since the 2013-2014 school year. However, some schools have been allowed to opt out because it was determined they did not need this level of structure and support. These schools include Ann Street, Newark Early College, Eagle Academy, and Lafayette Street. Students receive 100-minute literacy blocks. 60 minutes are whole class, focusing mostly on vocabulary and comprehension, and 40 minutes are small group instruction, focusing on any one of the 5 pillars. Learn Zillion complements expeditionary learning by providing a number of resources, including student exemplars and park-like assessments students can take on the computer. A teacher usage report broken down by school was shared with the committee. The district uses SRI, Scholastic Reading Inventory scores, to assess student achievement in language arts literacy. For those who score in below basic, there is an intervention program called System 44, which is an extra 40 to 60 minutes of literacy instruction. The committee requested more detailed information regarding progress for the students who receive instruction through the System 44 program. Update on the South Ward Community Schools Initiative, focus on Belmont Runyon. The discussion began with talk about the importance of vision and how resource allocation should be in service of a vision. The vision is covered by the 6 core strategies. The committee then received an update on Belmont Runyon using the core strategies to guide the presentation. $590,000 has been spent on salaries and benefits of additional staff, 2 academic interventionists, 3 teachers, and a school operations manager. Each lead agency is being paid $250,000 for high-capacity partnership development and resource coordination. Strive is Belmont Runyon's lead agency and has received $100,000 for the hiring of a community school director. The committee asks, again, for detailed information regarding how the South Ward Community School Initiative is being funded. The process for selecting the lead agencies included a combination of choosing organizations that were already familiar with the schools, as well as a broader search for potential partners. For example, at Louise A. Spencer, the lead partner, Kid Core, had past experience and some momentum with the school. At Belmont Runyon, the site-based team reviewed 3 organizations and selected Strive. Overview of the 17-18 Universal Enrollment Communications and Application Launch. The 17-18 Universal Enrollment Communications and Application Launch will occur on January 7, 2017. It was stated that families are asking about enrollment, so the district needs to get started. Also, the latest start possible logistically is January. This is a later start than last year, December 8th. Although it has yet to be decided if there will be an enrollment committee as per the resolution passed by the board, the district wants to start gathering families' preferences. Update on wait lists, including question on PESHA and pre-K. There are magnet and pre-K wait lists. For pre-K, there is a lot of demand. For charters, the law requires them to have a wait list, and the district finds this unfair because the district bears the burden of any new student coming into the district during the year. The large majority of these students go to traditional public schools. Universal enrollment is about having charters play more by the same or similar rules. The district wants to expand that. Traditional non-magnet district schools don't have wait lists. They are responsible for serving students, including those who come during the middle of the year. Wait lists are sunset for magnet schools on October 15th to create the least disruption for students and the schools. The pending enrollment committee may want to address when we sunset wait lists. It was reiterated by the committee that the operational proceedings for enrollment need to be in writing for families. The district conceded that we should be clear, visual, and transparent. The committee expressed concern that magnets and their scores are not where they should be, and that students are being admitted to these schools who have not demonstrated as high a level of academic achievement as in the past. It is the district's position that more students should have the opportunity to go to magnets who currently cannot. The district shares a more holistic sense of a student, for example, park, attendance, IEP info, etc., to make a decision on whether a student should attend. Other criteria make sense in other contexts. It was suggested that we have a larger conversation about the results that the magnets are getting and what factors are influencing these results. Deep dive on 9th grade at Eastside enrollment data. As per the trends and numbers, the district has a large number of students with language needs in the East Ward. Last year, there was a spike of Portuguese-speaking students enrolling in NPS from January through May. There is also a growing need for Spanish bilingual programs outside of the East Ward, but Eastside is the closest school to offer the program. The district is trying to enroll more of these students in Behringer, but the longer-term option may be to develop a bilingual program at Shabazz, since there is a growing number of Spanish-speaking students in the South Ward near Malcolm X Shabazz. Committee members suggested using one of the district's underutilized schools to build new programs, including bilingual. The district expressed concern that it doesn't want to shut out other students not in the East Ward from Eastside, given the number of special programs they are offering. We need to discuss the right mix of program options. There are 117 repeating 9th graders at Eastside. The committee asked if the number of students who were being left back were put in the enrollment projection. The district built this into the projection but could not hold all of the seats. There were 120 students who came to be enrolled in the summer, and Eastside was the only option for most of these students. Committee members asked what was the driving factor for the 120 students. The district committed to providing the answer via email. The committee pointed out that the main inquiry regarding the residency of the freshmen at Eastside was not answered or any information presented. The district committed to sending the data. Update on audit enrollment. The district developed a process with charters to collect documents for all families using the charter school enrollment system. Charter students who did not have proof that they live in Newark were sent a letter to indicate that they need to find another district to fund their seat at the charter or register in their home district. There were 1,300 of these students, and 200 to 300 of these students live outside of Newark. As of the date of the committee meeting, only 17 students were left to have their residency resolved. 15,685 charter students were verified to live in Newark, which is 1,295 less than what was projected in the NJDOE's fiscal year 2017 state charter aid notice. This should result in significant savings for NPS. The district has sent notification to 400 families with students who have special education out-of-district placements. 180 have responded and verified Newark residency. The district is following up with the remaining families. Those who are not verified by the new year will receive notices of ineligibility and lose placement and payment from NPS. Document collection for residency verification of NPS students has been completed. Not all schools have scanners, so they are not able to scan and upload documents to School Force. Therefore, the Office of Student Enrollment is conducting a document audit by reviewing documents at 10 schools that we have heard the most complaints about regarding student residency. Out of residence investigation is ongoing. The district has created a process whereby schools can report and provide evidence for students believed not to live in Newark. The process includes protecting students' rights by comparing names to a list of students believed to currently be homeless. Funding for 2 full-time investigators has been approved, and job descriptions have been drafted to oversee this aspect of the work. Update on Central High School. The committee was provided with an updated list of the student counts in all the classes at Central High. Self-contained special education classrooms vary in legal maximum class size based on classification. However, none of these classes should exceed 16 students without there being at least one aide in addition to the teacher. Of the 45 self-contained special education classrooms at Central High, 12 or 27% have more than 16 students enrolled. It is not confirmed if aides are assigned to these classrooms. At the high school level, the legal class size limit in general education classrooms is 24 students for one teacher. Central High has 111 out of 292, or 38%, general education classrooms with more than 24 students enrolled. These overcrowded classrooms are found in all content areas, including honors classes. It is not confirmed if in any of these instances, if there is more than one teacher assigned to the class. The general education class size ranges from as few as 1 to as many as 41 students enrolled. Edgenuity is the program used for students taking online classes, which is essentially credit recovery. Students are taking online courses in 15 different subjects. From November 7th to December 6th, enrollment increased in 11 of these courses, stayed the same in 3 of the courses, and decreased in 1 of these courses. Algebra 1 on the 7th, November 7th, it was 2. On December 6th, it was 5. Algebra 2, it went from 5 to 9. Biology, it went from 4 to 6. Chemistry, the enrollment stayed the same at 2 students. English 1 went from 4 to 7. English 2 went from 5 to 9 students. English 3 went from 3 to 7 students. English 4 remained the same with just 1 student enrolled in that online course. Environmental and science went from 2 to 4. Geometry went from 4 to 9. Health had 0 students enrolled in November, but 3 students enrolled on December 6th. Intro to sociology remained the same at 1 student enrolled. U.S. History 1 went from 2 to 6. U.S. History 2 went down from 5 students to 4 students, and World History went from 3 students to 6 students enrolled. CUSAC District Performance Review and Statement of Insurance for IMP. Overall, the district is high performing in all areas, but there are some areas in which the self-score is 0 in the Statement of Insurance and the District Performance Review. These areas include not spending all of the CTE funds last school year and errors in NJ Smart data. Conclusions reached. The district needs to improve upon the enrollment projections for each school. Ongoing issues still under consideration. Inquiries still to be answered from October. Do any of the schools that offer pre-K not have a wait list? A list of unique number of students who are on the wait list rather than a cumulative number of instances. A request was made for the needs assessment of each school within the South Ward Community School Initiative, also the summary document, the lead agency contracts, and coordinator contracts. Inquiries still to be answered from November. Comparison of district enrollment and demographic data between October 2015 and October 2016. Deep dive on 9th grade at Eastside. Do all of these students live in the East Ward? How are we communicating IEPs to parents when it comes to the student being transferred into a new school? Regarding organizations that partner with the district, this committee continues to express the need for the development of guidelines to define a partnership and a process to evaluate the effectiveness of the partner. Information requests from this meeting still to be filled. Just got this, but breakdown by unique teacher for LearnZillion usage for the 120 students who came to the enrollment center over the summer and got enrolled in Eastside. What was the driving factor for enrolling them at that particular school? the list of the members and the meeting dates of the site-based teams for each of the 5 schools in the South Ward Community Schools Initiative, and are the bricks still in the process of becoming part of the charter? Recommendations. It continues to be the committee's recommendation that the Newark Public Schools District make a commitment to building smaller class sizes into the projection model for next year's budget. In an effort to fulfill this commitment, the Program and Instruction Committee is requesting an audit of class size and composition across the district. This audit should include, but not be limited to, inquiries into class size as it compares to New Jersey law in both general and special education classrooms, class composition as it pertains to students with special needs being mainstream and compliance with state and federal law for special education, demographics of students enrolled in magnet schools, both traditional and alternative, as compared to district-wide demographics, including categories of sex, race, ethnicity, special education classification, ELL, residency, and eligibility for free or reduced price lunch, and residency of students enrolled in the comprehensive high schools as compared to formal or informal catchment areas. This information is being requested for all school years that One Newark Universal Enrollment has been used to match students to schools. It is the committee's recommendation that the Newark Board of Education vote yes to all of the resolutions presented to the Program and Instruction Committee that are up for vote this month.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Owens on her report?
Oh, Lord.
So, Ms. Owens, I have a question in reference to the request for an audit. Is the report your final request, or are you doing a separate formal request, or what should we expect?
No, at this moment, the recommendation in this report is the formal request.
It's a formal request.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the report? Is it second? I'm sorry.
Second, Ms. Gaddy. Motion to accept the December 6, 2016 P&I Committee report is delivered by Board Member Owens, moved by Ms. Carter, second by Ms. Gaddy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? That motion carries. The report's accepted.
Okay, we have 2 more reports that will be delivered tonight. Next, we'll have the Parent and Family Engagement Report delivered by the Committee Chair, Ms. Gaddy, followed by the Operations Committee Report, which will be presented by the Committee Chair, Mr. Lewis.
The meeting was called to order at 5:27 on December the 5th. It ended at 7:38. With an additional 40 minutes by board members, we stayed to discuss the Board Operating Procedures Manual. Members present was Committee Chair Kim Gaddy, Vice Chair Dashae Carter, Committee members Leah Owens and Tay Padilla, Margarita Munez, and the district staff, Paul, Ruth, Lizzie was not in attendance. The first item was to address our November minutes, in which we approved based on the revisions and corrections. Second item was the strategic plan priority 3 and a review of the Title I conference. There was a lot of concerns from parents as well as board members of this year's conference. Excuse me. There was some, you're loud. There was, the total number of participants was 611 over the course of the 3 days. Total with staff, 320 was on the first day, 115 was on the second day, and 124 was on the third day. Some of the participants and board members expressed that because this was the first time in the history that the district decided to go with a 3-day conference, that could have been a major reason why there was a decrease in participation, and that maybe we should consider going back to 1 day because it was a bit tasking on parents and community members. Also, Board Member Carter shared the need to have more buy-in with the CESs, and that if each one of the CESs brought at least 3 parents per school, the room would have been filled. And the same comments was made by the mayor who came the last day, saying that more parents and community should have been in the room. It should have been standing room only. Board Member Owens also shared a few takeaways. She liked the idea of the different populations and liked the resource table, felt as though that was great, and appreciate the opportunity that Ms. Holder speaking and other parent leaders who took on leadership roles. This was also echoed by Board Member Carter. There was a question raised about the additional concern of a parent panel that we thought was going to occur. However, it was moved. Information was given to board members that parents were not, they decided not to have that particular panel. Board Member Padilla also raised some concerns about the Newark Public School staff and parents. It was great that we was able to have the headsets for information to be translated, because in the two committee meetings that we had a large population of Hispanic members who could not speak English. It was also suggested that that same technology should be brought to this business meeting as well as our board meeting, because there's a lot of individuals who they don't come because they can't understand what is being said. And so that we should also bring those sets to our meetings. We also had a presentation on the agenda item 3 regarding a strategic plan, senior management discussion of the schools in the North and East Ward. Senior Manager Leslie made the presentation. She has 16 schools total under her jurisdiction, 4 in the North Ward, and 10 in the North Ward and 4 in the East Ward. She presented 3 various monthly reports, 2 that was outlined by individual CESs who are doing a great job, and then there was one presented by CES that's need more coaching. Leslie shared the fact that there needs to be constant communication with the principals and offer extra help is a key strategy. She added, with the exception of 2, all of her CESs attended the conference. Board Member Gaddy asked about the tracking of the PTAs and the PTOs. Last month, we had a list that was given, and it was 37. Now we have, it was 24. Now we have a total of 37 PTAs and PTOs in the district, and the board feels as though that number should be increased. We also raised the issue of parents had a concern at the conference of the policy for inclement weather. It was suggested that that be referred to operations. There was also a discussion of an item to be addressed at the P&I committee to review all of the parent policies. Conversation regarding the CES role and who they report to also resurfaced. It was clarified that the CESs, again, does not report to the OFACE office, so they can only provide coaching and support. So we said that that was a serious concern, and we would like to have a meeting with the superintendent to revisit that topic, because CESs are doing a lot of things as opposed to engaging the actual parents. So I want to kind of let you know, give you the heads up, I want to have that meeting with you. Paul explained that this situation is very difficult. It's not particularly black and white conversation. It's just the way that some principals are utilizing the support. Board Member Owens asked why would principals be characterized as difficult if they are successful, and that we should have a different approach for different people in different ways. Overall, the committee members were very pleased with Leslie's presentation. 4th item is the parent portal. We again raised the concerns about the parent portal. It was moved. We are still having parents in the district who's having difficulty participating in that. And so it is improving, but we're suggesting that the superintendent, someone makes a report out at the board meeting on how you can actually engage in that portal, what are some of the kinks, so that parents can feel that it is an important opportunity for them to be engaged in their children's education. Board Member Tave also shared some concerns about the parents again, and that if we truly want to engage them, we have to have, they have to have the opportunity. Additional follow-ups from the workshop were raised. Board Member Padilla asked what policy, oh no, I said that. Sorry, strike that. The third item is a strategic plan. Policy 3. Just to clarify, last month it was 24 to 26 PTAs, and as of today we have 37. So the last item is the parent enrollment policies, strategic plan, strategy 3D. Ruth provided the context around the policy and the purpose that they serve. It was explained that the current district policy had not been finalized and that the FACE will follow up with legal for further discussions about revisions and implementation. Ruth also urged board members to visit the New Jersey State website for additional information regarding compliance. Board member Owens searched the NPS website and found that the DPIP is listed under Community Relations section. She recommended that legal review both policies and copy the shared information, one on the website, and place the other one under parental involvement section. That's why it was difficult for some folks to locate it. Board Member Gaddy also requested copies of all the policies. She also suggested that we look at the New Jersey School Board Association website as well for the sample of the parent volunteer policies. Copies of the following parental involvement policies were shared: the draft NPS parental involvement policy, the school parental involvement policy, and the school compact. It was also stated that a couple updates. We are planning the next listening session for the month of February. Potential location would be held in the Central Ward, tentatively Harriet Tubman as a first choice or Central High School as a second choice. Meeting will be held at 5:30 in the evening for food, and the official start will be 6 p.m. We will follow up with the other logistics. Last item was the board operating procedures manual that we discussed, and Leah has those recommendations that will be presented to the board president and vice chair. That concludes the report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Gaddy on her report?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Carter.
I'm not sure if it was in there, but the mention of us advertising the January meeting at Luis Marin in Spanish to let them know that they will be able to understand what's going on.
Right, it's in
The
here.
district committed to that. Okay.
Right. And that is just a that's a continuation of our conversation of including the Hispanic parents. We feel as though that would be a great opportunity to potentially kickstart, and so that's part of the conversation I wanted to have with the superintendent around if that is possible to have the headsets and stuff available and then advertise that meeting to that population specifically, because at the conference we had to have our workshop translated because, again, it was a large population of Hispanic parents, and they said that was their only opportunity to speak to board members and for their voice to be heard.
Thank you. Yes.
Just one quick clarification. Good evening, everyone. We always, by course of practice.
Mr. Sir, before you leave, I would like to give you the 2017 French Award for undermining and destabilizing.
Ms. Hitchcock.
We always publicize all meetings in 3 periodicals. One of them is a Spanish paper, and it's always published in Spanish, so there is always a notice of all of our meetings in a periodical for any Spanish-speaking residents, as well as Portuguese-speaking residents, and then, of course, for English-speaking residents.
Right, so it's advertised in Spanish, but once they come to our meetings are not conducted in a way that's conducive to Spanish-speaking community members. So that's
Ms. Gaddy, thank you.
just clarifying.
No, do you know if that particular equipment is, do you happen to know if it's owned by the district or?
Yeah.
It is?
It is owned
All
by the
right,
district.
thank you.
You want me to say something?
Yes, go right ahead, thank you.
Ms. Gaddy, that equipment was purchased originally to support board meetings. We started out bringing it and did not have enough participation. It may be time to reconsider that practice and bring it to board meetings again.
Thank you. Is there any other questions?
Ms. Gaddy, just with regard to the policy revision recommendations, just contact my office, and Ms. Luke and I will help you out with that.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Gaddy on her report? Is there a motion to accept the report?
Motion.
Who made the motion? Okay,
Jackson,
Mr. Jackson.
No, that was Dashay made it and Marquis second.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Carter made it, Lewis on the second. Motion to accept the December 5, 2016 Parent Family Engagement Committee report as delivered by Board Member Gaddy, moved by Ms. Carter, second by Mr. Lewis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. That report accepted.
Thank you. We will now have the Operations Committee report by the committee chair, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you very much. Our committee met on December 7th at 5:11 p.m. In attendance was myself, Mr. Marquis Shaquille Lewis, committee chair, Keith Barton, the executive managing director, operations, board member Gaddy.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lewis, what was the date of the meeting?
December the 7th.
December 7th. Okay, thanks.
Attending was board member Gaddy, board member Padilla, Mr. Polk, director of safety, Eric Ingalls. Absent were Mr. Donald Jackson, board member. Minutes was reviewed and accepted. Mr. Leone came to present to the committee the new permit building policy. He let us know that the phases have begun. The first phase, the principals and support staff received training and of the new policy and ready to implement. Mr. Lewis also requested that the alumni associations also receive the same training. The security services presented to the committee by Mr. Ingalls, presented the evacuation plan. It was reviewed, and by policy, it's supposed to be posted in every exit on every floor of every building. Mr. Lewis asked Mr. Keith Barton and Mr. Ingalls, what's that happening? Mr. Barton let me know that he will look into it and make sure that if it's not happening, that it will be posted in every floor of every building. Buildings safe passage initiative with the city. This item was moved to next month so that we can get someone from North Police Department to attend our meeting to let us know what is going on with the safe passage. Mr. Ingalls also told me that he will be on a conference call with the committee that was put together and update us as soon as possible. School security guards have vacancies, all vacancies. There are 60 vacancies. If you're interested in being a school crossing guard, please contact the North Police Department. The North Police Department is handling all hiring for school crossing guard positions. Incident report was reviewed by committee, November incidents. The committee reviewed the incidents and understand that there was a lot of incidents that happened at Eastside High School, Barringer High School, and George Washington Carver. Mr. Lewis showed that his concern with these incidents is also Ms. Gaddy about the number of volume incidents that's happening at our high school and asked that we come up with some type of plan so that next month we don't see the same thing occurring at these schools. Facilities report by Mr. Keith Barton with energy savings update. The energy savings update close to $328,873. $165,000 in operation maintenance. $32,000 in boiler converting. Solar panels, $72,000 more savings without roofing repair, $21,000 more with roof repair. Also reviewed the rocket composter at Weequahic High School. Update, Mr. Polk checked it and said that it's ready and to be operated, looking for individuals to operate this equipment. The water was reviewed. Mr. Barton gave us an overview on the status of our old system, final stages, flushing protocol, and ongoing installation of move towards using city water. The committee also spoke about no housing properties, and then Mr. Lewis accused himself from this conversation because it's a conflict of interest, and Ms. Board Member Kim Gaddy took over the meeting.
Pretty much, they talked about the schools as owned by the North Housing Authority and the plan to proceed with the selling. It wasn't too much to report because there has been no real activity at this moment, but they will keep us posted with the estimation of how much money will come back to the district. But right now, none of those schools have been sold. There are some that should be in contract, but that's it.
That's it.
That ends the report.
That concludes our
Okay,
report.
thank you.
Madam
Yes, Ms.
Chair?
Gaddy?
I just wanted to add, we also stated about the last board meeting, there was concern about Weequahic High School. A former teacher or someone got up and mentioned that drugs was being sold, Mr. Chair. So we did talk about that. We asked them to investigate because if those kind of accusations are being made in the public, we should be made aware of, what the status is. And he's going to report back at the next month's meeting.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Other questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Carter and then Mr. Sellinger.
I have two questions. Am I allowed to ask a question about the housing, being that I work for housing?
I would suggest that you,
No, okay.
I would suggest that it would be better if you didn't. Yes.
On this, these reports about student setting off fire extinguishers, I went to all the schools and I gave them, excuse me, 1 second, please. I went to all the schools and these fire, anything to do with fire, these children are supposed to go to a program. And if the schools are not reporting this and they're coming up and I'm seeing it here, and I'm the one that they see on the program, somebody's trying to not put this out there. So we gotta have to teach and everything. Because it just says suspend it, and that's it. That ain't just how it works, suspend it. You go through a program. And the next time something happens, it's documented and the child will be in trouble somewhere because the rest are just gonna keep doing it. So at the next meeting, I would, if something comes up with fire related, I would like to, know what's going on with that. Thank you.
Mr. Sellinger, Mr. Ingles did pull me aside before we spoke, and he did say that he spoke to you about that.
Yeah, I spoke to
And
him
that
about
Eastside,
it. I just want to put it down.
he contacted the school, Eastside, and he's going to meet with the principal to find out why that procedure wasn't taken.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Ms. Owens.
So the end of the report around the buildings, Board Member Gaddy said there are some that should be in contract. So I just wanted to get some clarification either from you or a district administrator, just to clarify, and also just to add, because I believe it was last month, I saw that there was an ad taken out in the New York Times, advertising 12 of the buildings, and then there's an actual website that I guess developers or whoever's interested in purchasing the buildings and go to get more information. There were dates for like walkthroughs or open houses and whatnot. So to me, that doesn't seem like no real activity. Not to, I know that you are, trying to put the report together, but just some more detail than that would be appreciated.
Yes, I left my notes, but I know Ms. Wilson can respond. But some of what I was saying is no activity. Bids were collected, but nothing was actually followed through. So Ms. Wilson, can you clarify that and for the committee?
Good evening. For the public's information, the properties that are with the Housing Authority, there have not been any contracts entered into. So let me make that clear. So in terms of activity, what has happened is the Housing Authority has put out a qualification document. I'll use that terminology, meaning they've asked people who might be interested in bidding to put information in. That particular piece of the activity was completed. Now there's a bid that is still out on the street, if I'm not mistaken, and has not been opened yet for parties who are interested in certain properties or all properties to submit a bid in terms of what they are offering us for the particular piece of property that they may be interested in. We anticipate that coming back in early January.
Yep, so requests for proposal are due on December 20th.
Right. At that point, those will be evaluated and it will be determined if there are appropriate bids by people who can make the contract, for want of a better term, and be able to enter into contract. But nothing has been contracted. No activity has taken part in terms of awarding contracts. What we are doing is going through a public bid process. Any questions?
Madam Chair, just before.
Yes, Mr. Lewis.
Just before you ask for anybody for the report to be accepted. Also, I had a major issue where when I looked at the incident report, I saw we have a lot of children who had cocaine found on them and smoking pipes, and the dispositions were different. On one case, with a kid with cocaine and smoking pipe, the parent was notified. In another case, NPS, the North Police, was notified along with a suspension. So it's like inconsistency, and it came from the same school. So if one incident, a parent was notified, why in the next case, North Police was notified and the suspension also happened? So it's inconsistency in the process.
Did you ask Mr. Ingle about that information when you received it?
When we receive it, he says the school that does, so we have to.
Is he looking into that for you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll investigate it further. Make sure you let me, I'm sorry, Ms. Cole. Make sure you let me know what school it is privately.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Lewis or for the part of the report that Ms. Gaddy delivered? Is there a motion to accept? There's a motion by Ms. Carter.
Second by Mr. Sellinger. This is a motion to accept the December 7, 2016 Operations Committee report as delivered by Mr. Lewis and Ms. Gaddy. Moved by Ms. Carter, second by Mr. Sellinger. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Report accepted.
Thank you. We will now move on to the superintendent's report, item 5.0, which will be delivered by Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Ms. Baskerville.
You're welcome.
Good evening, members of the community, members of the board. This evening, we have an abbreviated superintendent's report, and we will be talking about specifically our progress on CUSAC. We have made significant recent progress towards local control. As we know, there are 5 areas of NJ CUSAC: fiscal, operations, personnel, instruction and program, and governance. In 2008, the district earned local control over operations. In 2014, we earned local control over fiscal management. Both areas have been consistently high performing. In the summer of 2006, in the area of personnel, we earned local control. All transitions to local control are contingent on the district's developing what is known as an approved transition plan. At this point in time, we are working on the transition plan for the personnel area. In the area of governance, We improved to high performing. Our scores were 88. And NJDOE did not return local control at that time, but set a clear path for return of instruction and program, who improved to 64 points from somewhere in the 30s, I think. And an equivalency application was approved and set a clear path for return to local control there also. In 2016-17, it was anticipated that the district would undergo a full NJ-CUSAC review, which would be part of the regular CUSAC process, because that occurs every 3 years. In this 3-year process, we were required to do both a district performance review document and a statement of assurance. Those of you who are regular attendees will remember that we do a statement of assurance annually. So when you're ready for a full on-site review, you do both of those documents. So this fall and into the winter, we've been working with a committee that is a requirement of the DPR for this year to develop a transition plan to officially transfer control over personnel to the school board. In the spring, we anticipate that the Department of Education will visit to review deficient indicators only in the areas of governance and instruction and program. You will remember that both of those areas have been under what is known as a district improvement plan. In the summer of 17, we anticipate that the next round of NJDOE scores are expected to be made available. So at this point in time, the board will vote this cycle on a DPR and an SOA that is a self-scoring of the district. So when the department scores return, which we hope is in the summer, we will see what we actually scored. In 2017, both summer through fall, we anticipate that the State Board of Education will meet and will approve a resolution to begin Newark's final transition process, which would be the transition of the other two areas, governance and instruction and program. And in the fall and winter of 2017, we anticipate working once again with a committee to develop a transition plan for the commissioner's approval to officially transfer control over governance to the school district. I can't see that last word, school board. And that's really the timeline that we're looking at, and those are the activities that we are anticipating. On our website, we have posted both the DPR and the SOA. Lizzie, is she around? Where are you? Do we have them? Okay, Rob, can you pull them up? I'll just do a very brief overview of the areas that we've done. You will be happy to note that we are still high performing in several of our areas, actually all of them, excluding INP. So if you look at our DPR for fiscal management, I'm not going to go through all the indicators because they're there. Rob, can you scroll through? I think there's one indicator that we listed as a 0. So the district has to score itself in the yellow. You will see that this is indicator 6C, which talks about our spending of grants, both discretionary and non-discretionary, state, federal, and local grants. And if we had to return more than $1,000 to the NJDOE, we had to report here and we had to score ourselves a 0. In the comments, you will see the amounts and areas of grants where money was returned last year. I think someone earlier in the evening in the instruction and program report, Ms. Owens actually talked about the CTE grant. So you'll see that we returned about $150,000 there. And you'll see that in terms of our non-public schools, The items at the top, which is about $500,000, is non-public money. Let me make that very clear. It is not district money. It is not money that the district can use. It is allocated by the state to the non-public schools, and ultimately, if they do not spend it, is returned, but the district is held accountable. So be sure that that is not money that we would have been able to spend. So we've got to do a better job with our non-publics. The reason for the non-public issue is that we have begun to see a decrease in the number of non-public students, and we do have some groups that are reluctant to spend the monies they have if they're not sufficient to do all of a project that they may have identified. So that's one area in fiscal. I think we have two, if I'm not mistaken. Go to the end, Rob, which I think is 10. Go back up one more. Okay, it's not here. So that is the DPR for fiscal. In this review, fiscal is the only area that carries a DPR. Let's go to the SOA. Okay. Area of fiscal. Well, let's start with whatever area comes up first. I think it's instruction and program. There's the summary of what the SOA looks like. Once again, this is posted on the district's website. You'll see the areas where we've scored, and you'll see the percentages that we've scored. Thanks. You'll see that in Ms. Cole and Ms. Holder, can you sort of move a little bit because I can't see. Instruction, thanks. Instruction and program. We have 5 yes responses. Remember that the SOA is a subset of the DPR. So in those 5 areas in instruction and program, not having to do with curriculum, we have all 5 and we've scored 100. In our fiscal management, we have 8. And I think we scored 80. And in governance, we have 10, which is 100%, personnel 10, which is 100%, and operations 19, which calculates to 95%. I think our fiscal management number is higher than the 8, but we'll check that. And I think that's the summary. I won't go through all of the items. We can flip through instruction and program. Finish, go through. Okay. In the area of fiscal management, I think there are 2 areas which we have zeros in. Go up a little bit. Okay, the first one being, once again, submission of final reports for grants and discretionary grants. The district did not submit its 2015 IDA application on time, but I can confirm for you that in 15-16, the final report and the application for 16-17 have both been submitted on time. So we're back on track with that. Keep going. This is the one where we go to 10. In 10, we have a situation where we are still experiencing confirming orders. Schools and offices are acquiring services and product without an approved purchase order. That's known as an unauthorized purchase or a confirming order. The district has to improve that process and ensure that we have tighter controls so that people aren't spending money before they are authorized. In the area of governance, we have 100%. Keep going. You can go right through it. Who's at 0? Go down a little bit. I think this is operations. What we have here is our NJ Smart files have been turned in on time, but we do not have the required 2% error rate. Our error is in the area of special education. And in that area, I think our error rate is greater than 2%, and we are actually working on that. So there are 10 sets of data that are provided for NJ Smart. 9 of the 10 are okay. We have an area that we have to continue to work on. We do know that that number or error rate this year is lower than it has been in the past. Keep going. I don't think we have any zeros. Keep going. Okay. Personnel, we have 100%. This particular document will be certified by both the chief school administrator, the board of education president. The board resolution will be voted on at the board's public meeting next week. The community will have had a week to review all of the documents as they are available and public at this point in time. Madam Chair, that concludes the superintendent's report for this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Wilson at this time?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Ms. Wilson, so
And then Ms. Gould.
looking at the second slide, kind of the bottom half, this expected timeline, is that anything abnormal? Has this been adjusted for Newark in particular? Or is this a timeline that basically should be expected of a district under state control?
I wouldn't say that it's abnormal. It has somewhat been adjusted for Newark. Under normal circumstances, we would have had a full review, right? Mm-hmm. At this point in time, we're going to have a review only on the areas where we have a dip in place. And that review would not have occurred till the spring. So the timeline is in effect in accordance with what has been the practice of both the Department of Education and the CUSAC process.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Gould. I'm sorry, did you have another?
Yes.
Okay.
And then also in that same area at the bottom, 2017 fall, winter, anticipate, blah, blah, blah. It only says to officially transfer control over governance to school boards. So what is the anticipation with IMP?
Dr. Perkins, can you talk a little bit about the IMP? Because I'm not that familiar with the waiver piece.
The review of the metrics related to the waiver is presumed to happen at the same time in the spring, but there will be part of the district improvement plan a score that relates to instruction and program. But in terms of what the exact timeline is from there, that is not currently specified.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Gould.
So just in I believe it was the finance section of the DPR, you mentioned that, if I'm not mistaken, that $150,000 of grant money that was meant for public schools was returned, and I was just wondering why that happened and what happened there.
Thanks, Ms. Gould. You're correct. We did return about $154,000 worth of what's known as CTE, Career Technical Education, or what's known under the old name of vocational ed. That money was returned because there was not appropriate coordination. We lost some staff member for a temporary leave. We did not provide sufficient backup, and we probably also should have pushed more from the finance area in terms of getting that money spent. It's not something we're going to let happen again.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, thank you, Ms. Wilson, and we will move on to item 6, which is review agenda for public meeting, which is the board members' opportunity to ask any unanswered questions regarding our voting items for next week.
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry. Yes, Ms. Owens.
For item 1114, I guess probably Ms. Wilson, if you could just expound upon this resolution for the capital project control, blah, 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 blah.
The district is partnering with the city of Newark to actually bond for capital expenses. I'm not sure if we can bring it up on the screen, can we? The capital projects resolution. So tomorrow evening, let me sort of back up. The district cannot bond for itself. It must bond through the city. In order to do that, there is a process called the Capital Projects Control Board. That board has to be convened. They have to be presented with the projects that the district is suggesting that we do, and then they would approve that. Once they do, that information is then passed to this board to approve not the projects, but more so putting the information forward so that we can go to the city to really ask them to bond. Those of you who have been attending meetings since last spring will remember that when we asked to levy taxes as part of the budget process, there was a $4.5 million reduction that the district had to take in order to get the budget passed by this board. At that point in time, we indicated that we would be working with the city to look at how we could do some capital projects. So what this is going to end up now being is a bond effort for $30.5 million. I almost said billion. $30.5 million, which is going to be used for a number of things. There are some very specific schools that are identified. Included in this is an abatement process for identification, remediation of asbestos throughout the district, lead paint modifications, for want of a better word, it's not abatement, throughout the district, an assessment of our buildings, and the lead in water issue. So now we've talked about working on lead in water. We've been doing a number of things. You heard Ms. Gaddy talk about being updated at the operations committee. We have actually, for the public's knowledge, begun to replace faucets. We have decommissioned bubblers that were not working appropriately on sinks. We have begun to put filters in schools. There are some 11 or 12 schools that we've already put water filters on outlets that were not high in the first place, but we wanted to do as one of our added precautions. We've begun to open up some of our old pipes where some schools, American history, had a water fountain on the 4th floor. They could not have appropriate water pressure because the line was so corroded and minimized. So we've run tubing, which is plastic, therefore lead-free, around that pipe and up to the 4th floor, been able to put those in place. It is a consistent, continual effort that we are doing. We anticipate that somewhere in January, we will begin to come before this body and the community to begin talking about putting schools that are currently on bottled water back onto city water, showing that we've changed fixtures, that we've put filters in place, and that we have done the appropriate remediations to provide safe drinking water. The next step of that would be beginning to look at our buildings from a capital perspective in order to determine what kinds of things we would need to do, whether it's going into pipes that are connecting on the property and they're therefore underground, or within the walls themselves to make a more permanent effort for remediation. So these projects will be presented to the Capital Projects Board, which is composed of a representative from the Department of Education, a representative from the Department of Consumer Affairs, because they control construction in New Jersey, two representatives for the mayor, and the state district superintendent who chairs the board. That presentation will be made tomorrow in this room. The board is anticipated to vote to approve, hopefully, that is the outcome we are looking for to send these projects forward. This body would then vote on the resolution next week. It would go to the city. The city council also has to vote on it and begin getting financial documentation and efforts in place to get appropriate financing. Hopefully we can save some time in next year and actually get a couple of projects done during the summer. Some of these projects are boiler replacements, roof replacements, additions of generators and backup generators, just to name a few of the things that are included. It is only the start of what we will need from a capital perspective, but it should also be noted these are projects that have not been approved by the SDA.
And sorry, brain freeze. So just to be clear, I'm just confused about the relation to what we asked the city to do last June in terms of property tax increase. So is this replacing that instead of just?
You did ask that question about property tax, and we were going to discuss it at finance, but not everybody was present. So that was one of the topics we pushed. So let me talk about the district and tax levy. When we cast our budget in April, we asked for a tax levy of about 7% was actually what we approved. I think it was about $6.5 million, if I remember correctly. That tax levy then becomes part of our revenue permanently. So it's incorporated into our revenue. The city began payments in July, and every month they pay us a portion of that tax levy. So that's done, happened, finished. The other $4.5 million that we wanted to levy and were not approved for is included in this bond in terms of funding for facilities to, right now, if we have some type of a major building structure failure, I have no money in the budget to actually turn around and say, okay, I'm going to fix this roof or I'm going to fix this boiler. So there's contingency funding that we need to talk about in that bond. There's also all of the work that I just described. Of course, this April, when we talk about our budget, we will be talking about the second portion of the tax levy that we have available to us in banked cap, which is about 4.5%. And of course, we would levy the 2% that we normally are allowed.
Okay. And just two other questions that are quick, I think. In the last three columns, it says subtotal, it's labeled subtotal per school, soft cost per school, and then construction cost estimate per school. What is soft cost per school?
Every project has design work, architectural renderings that need to happen. Some of those assessments, those are known as soft costs for what would also be included in that is issuance of the cost to issue the financing, things of that nature. So they are not considered part of the project cost, but you do have to pay them.
And then last, why would St. Benedict's be listed on here? St. Benedict's.
Because I think I have to look at that because I'm not sure if it's I know it's not St. Benedict's that's up the hill. There is a Catholic school that we rent as part of the in the Ironbound, which is part of the district's annex for Ann Street. I had to think of it. But we don't own it. So I need to look at that and figure that out.
Okay.
Might be an error, but I'll get back to you tomorrow on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Wilson, so the meeting tomorrow, Capital and Projects Control Board, is obviously not a meeting of this board as you've described. It's a different body.
Yes.
It is a publicly advertised meeting. So my question is, in terms of this board and just being sure if board members wanted to attend tomorrow, that we're not in violation of the Sunshine Law because it is not our meeting. Can only 4 board members attend, or can more than 4 board members attend?
This meeting was advertised as an open public meeting, which it is, and it is open to everybody. Board members may attend, but not in their role as board members. They will not be asked to do a presentation. They will not be asked to render a decision. Decisions will be made by the Capital Project Control Board.
Thank you. So as long as there is no possibility of the appearance that this board is meeting.
That's right. I would strongly suggest that all 9 members do not sit together and do not actually have like an elongated conversation. So it cannot be construed that board business is being conducted.
Thank you for that clarity.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr.
We're on
Lewis.
the agenda, right? We still on the agenda?
Yes.
I would like to ask that, and I'll come up with this. I just want to ask the support from the board, probably ask you to support. One of our very own West Side alumni is in his 5th season of the Detroit Lions and up to be a candidate for the Pro Bowl. And I'm asking that we can, as the board, support a campaign throughout the district to get our students to go online to NFL.com Pro Bowl and vote for Tahir Whitehead to be in the Pro Bowl for 2017.
So, Mr. Lewis, I'm not objecting to what you're saying, but it's not actually an agenda item.
I'm asking that we put it in as an agenda item so that we as a board support this campaign for our district to be a part of, for the children to go on and vote for Tahir Whitehead to go into the Pro Bowl.
So you're asking for that there be a resolution?
Yes.
For
motion.
Okay, so we don't. I mean, we can, vote.
I mean, it could be a board initiative. What I'm asking, if we can do a resolution, make this a board initiative, that it go out to the schools. We asking all our staff and all our students to go and vote to support our very own West Side alumni, Tahir Whitehead, to make it to the Pro Bowl.
Okay, I mean, and I understand the significance of it, and I'm just asking because it's coming up at this meeting rather than having been submitted via our timeline. In terms of timeliness, is this something that actually needs to happen
yes.
this month, is what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, and maybe I just wasn't listening carefully. What's the necessity for it to be this month rather than going through the process?
Well, the Pro Bowl is next month. So right now, Tahir Whitehead, who's from Westside High School alumni, like I said, 5th year in the NFL, Detroit Lions is a candidate for the Pro Bowl, which is like the Super Bowl. And we asking that his colleagues, his North colleagues, his school district that he graduated from, we all go online and vote on NFL.com for Tahir Whitehead to go to the Pro Bowl.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I thought that you were asking for a resolution. You're basically asking board members. You're requesting that board members individually go online and vote.
We're asking for the district to promote that, to support that initiative.
Like the superintendents put it out at their schools.
Okay, so we can, I mean, I'm just a little bit confused, and maybe it's me, about what it is that you actually want to happen. No, I understand that. Okay, but in terms of who we're asking to do.
Everybody in the district.
Everybody.
Everybody in the district to support him.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So Go ahead, Ms. Gaddy, if you can speak to it.
So he just mentioned it to me because he didn't get to me for the Community Engagement Committee. But it's so that we can be supportive of him. He's a graduate of our district, and so that all the children, all the staff, all the board members can vote, because it's based on the numbers. And so Marquise would like to have a big turnout from his hometown. He actually came back a month or so ago to help.
No, I understand. I know him. I'm just, so what is the timeline on this voting actually happening?
I believe Christmas is the deadline for the vote.
Okay, so that's actually this month. Okay. So I think that, I mean, I have no problem, with a resolution, but I think we need to actually.
I actually have the flyer, the little thing he sent me, the flyer that they was using to promote it, so I can send it to the district so they can,
And like put it
Yeah,
up
so
on the
I mean,
website.
I don't think that the resolution is a problem, but I think after that, it sounds like there's some work that needs to be done in terms of communication with the district and what the district can actually do.
Well, if the
Okay.
communication department, community relations department can take on that task.
So if we want to pass, if we want to have a simple resolution, the first thing I think is getting the information to all the board members. If we can have a resolution that's worded by next week, I don't think there'd be any problem passing it, and we can have those conversations, because I understand what you're saying now, and the time is really close, so there needs to be promotion needs to happen soon. So I think, if we could, even after the meeting, take a look at the information. I don't have any problem with a resolution.
And I was just saying that at the next board meeting, we're going to be honoring Coach Logan, who actually coached him, and is still a good friend of his. That will be an ideal time as well to have the information right then and there, and people could actually go online and do what they have to do. And then our student representative can kind of get students engaged.
Okay, so you'll organize that so we can make it happen. Okay. All right, and you'll word. Someone will formally word the resolution. Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you. Anyone else? Agenda on the agenda.
I just had a quick question. I know I was absent from the program instruction, and so I had a concern about the nurses. 2016 and 17 service plan. And I was looking on a Google Doc, I didn't see it. So if you could just re-forward that to me. Does it entail the asthma management plan of kids in the district? Just give me a quick 2-line, and then you could just post it, and I'll read it for my edification. If I have any additional questions, I'll contact the chair and you.
Very good, and I just gave you access to that Program Instruction Committee folder as well.
They didn't have. And then also, Board Member Gaddy, there's information under that item in ESB as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on agenda items? Okay, is there a motion to accept the agenda?
Second. Ms. Selger? Second by Mr. Jackson. This is a motion to accept the proposed agenda for the December 20th, 2016 board meeting with the amendment as articulated by Mr. Lewis, the board resolution honoring Mr. Whitehead. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Motion carries. Agenda's fixed. Yep.
Okay, yes, we're going to move to public participation in just a minute.
So I'll reach out to Logan too. Marquise, after you send me the information, and I'll reach out to this one. I'm going to go to that. The board phone?
Thank you. You can go ahead and read the thing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the public participation portion of the meeting. As a reminder, time limits for all speakers are enforced. There's no sharing or granting of speaking time to others. Speakers must be present when their name is called. Speakers are required to give their names and addresses. The public participation portion of this meeting is limited to 10 speakers, first come, first served. Examples of unacceptable behavior that will not be permitted include, but are not limited to, naming district employees and engaging in personal attacks, slurs, excessive loudness, calling out, yelling, generally disruptive behavior, attempt to disrupt the meeting, or inciting others to do so. Public participation at these board meetings is intended to allow individual members of the public the opportunity to address the board and the administration on issues of public concern, not as a forum for two-way dialogue with board members or district officials. The superintendent's designee or Madam Chair may respond to questions either at the end of the session, or responses may be provided at a later time. The superintendent's designee or chair may interrupt any speaker or terminate any speaking privilege if the comments are disruptive or obscene. An individual may be cautioned that a personally directed statement may be slanderous or defaming, and the individual may be liable for his or her statements. Attempts to hijack or filibuster the proceeding, repeated interrupting or badgering the board members or district officials, repetitive and truculent speech, or other disregard of the rules of decorum are not tolerated and may subject the individual or group to removal from the meeting. If necessary, the meeting may be adjourned.
Thank you. We're going to ask everyone to please adhere to the 3-minute time limit. This evening, you will be asked to complete your remarks at 3 minutes. First speaker,
Madam
Denise
Chair.
Cole.
Ms. Cole,
Yes.
can you just hold? Can I ask that board members vote on the agenda, please?
Thank you.
Complete your votes, board members.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Are we ready, board members?
Yeah. There's only one.
Okay, I'm sorry. Ms. Cole.
Denise Cole. Speaker ain't on. Hello? Okay. Denise Cole, 2 Kier Avenue. The first thing I just want to introduce is the Mr. Surf emphatically stated that he never said that he agreed with the governor's plan for the equal pay, the equal pupil portion. So I just wanted to bring to Mr. Surf his certification with his name on it. It says Superintendent Surf. The docket number that you can look up is 078257. Also, they put an order out also, and this is the 94-page document that was submitted to the courts. The telephone number you can call to confirm it is 609-292-4837. The case is actually still pending because I checked on it. Second, I want to say to you that I came because I want to ask Charlotte, there are 3 policies for drugs on the site, Charlotte. And I read all 3 policies, and right now, the schools are in violation of students' rights as drug policies, even those 2 reports, Marquise, that you mentioned. I got a call from one of the parents, and my issue with that is, if you read the policies, and I read all 3 policies, first of all, the police are not supposed to be called unless the parent is present. And if the parent hasn't been notified, then the police cannot talk to a child unless the principal is there. If a child is found with paraphernalia in the school, then the school is supposed to have a drug counselor. That's policy, but we ain't got no drug counselors in school. That's a problem. You have a policy on the books that you can't even adhere to because you don't have the staff in the school to adhere to the policy. Now, when these kids are coming into school and drugs are being found on them, the school does have a policy that say they have a contract already with the police department. But what's supposed to happen is, if it's alleged drug sales in the school, the police are supposed to do an undercover operation to find out how the drugs are coming in, who's selling them, and the school is supposed to be notified at that time. So at this point, we have a violation of our students' rights. So I want to ask the ACLU to look into it, or either Charlotte, somebody needs communication with the school as to how they're going about finding out about drugs, because one kid had a clear phone. He had a paraphernalia box it was a clear cell phone case. He had cut out a Black and Mild box and put it in the back as a picture for the decorative for his box. When he came through the metal detector, they stopped him and said that it was drug paraphernalia, because it's drug paraphernalia because it's known to be used in the community where people take out the tobacco and put marijuana in it. So they stopped him for that. Then they asked him, did he smoke marijuana? The kid said, yeah, he smoked marijuana, but he wasn't high then and he didn't smoke then. But then they referred him for drug screening which if you look at your policy, that's not even how it go. If the kid admitted to it, he didn't need to go for a drug screen. What he was supposed to be done is referred to the drug counselor, put in a drug program so the behavior can be deterred, not suspended.
Thank you, Ms. Cole.
They're getting suspended, and these policies are designed that are attacking black and brown children in our district,
you, Ms.
which
Cole.
is predominantly male, which is putting them into the pipeline to prison.
Thank you. Next speaker, S.E. Keenan.
Good evening, ladies
evening.
and gentlemen. Good evening. I am S.E. Keenan. I am the Vice President of Westside High School PTSA, also a member of the community at large. I came in here to bring you what is going on at Westside within my community. I'm worried about because years ago in 2012 and 13, the acquisition of property was taken from people within the neighborhood. Well, you're supposed to have expanded our school, yet this property still sits vacant. That was seized also. Many property was seized. These houses sit vacant. The school has no expansion, yet we look across the street and we can see where Rise Academy had did what has not been done at Westside. You know, we have the problem with that. We need to expand. We need to know what happened to that money that was supposed to be allocated to West Side for expansion purposes. We also have an issue with textbooks. Over the last 4 years, we have no textbooks. At one point in our school, there was textbooks stored in our basement, in which we were not allowed to apprehend or use. When we asked if they were there presently, they had been removed to where we do not know where they have gone to. We have students also, computers were given to our students. We have one computer for 3 children. Unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. We have children. How do you expect these children to study if they have no textbooks and can't take home? And then you're failing them through no fault of their own. So I think we need help over here at the West Side. We have teachers also unqualified teaching subjects. They are not qualified to teach, and teachers themselves have stated it to me. I took a tour of the school last year with a few of the members from here. We took a tour. We walked up on unsuspecting teachers sitting down in classroom with students running around in the classroom with aides in the classroom, feet propped up on the desk, on cell phone. It was ridiculous. It was totally ridiculous, and I was mortified to see it. We need to have, our principal, yes, he came into our school and took over. I mean, in the time that I've been at Westside, I would think we had 8 principals. 8 principals, it is ridiculous. 8 principals, each time we come, we get a turnover rate on staff. It's as soon as your kid gets to learn a teacher, out they go out the door.
Thank you, Ms. Keenan.
Please help us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Jacob Brady.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jacob Brady, student at Science Park High School, 260 Norfolk Street. So here's the problem. At Science Park High School, we have a school store. Currently not in we have a school store at Science. They were vending, gym uniforms, school uniforms. They were helping us, but all of a sudden they stopped. Now I have no gym. I cannot afford to buy gym clothes. Okay, I am currently getting zeros for gym because someone decided to have the school store stopped at Science Park High School. Okay. Now children are in my position as well at Science Park High School. Our grades are being affected by this. We don't appreciate this. And we need to find a way to resolve this. Because the school store was giving the school uniforms at a reasonable price. We didn't have to go to the stores to pay pay an expensive amount of money in order to get our school uniforms. Okay, which it was very convenient. We got to just walk into our school store and make the purchase. Okay, and various science students could tell you this if you don't believe me. Now I want to know why are we being targeted? Meaning, science and stuff with the budget cuts, okay? With everything that's going on, park testing, we're being, hassled by that. We have to study for midterms. We have to study for finals. Okay, I don't even know what the point of this park testing is. It's ridiculous. So, once again, we need to stop one NORC and get rid of this park testing. And let's try to work together to get the school store open, please. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Next speaker, Maureen Robinson, followed by Sheila Montague.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Hello, happy holidays.
I had not planned on this. I just, I don't have a prepared speech. I have some notes that I made, and I'm very concerned and very moved by a couple of reports that I heard tonight, and I just need some clarification before I put some information out there. It appears that someone has done a snow job regarding Central High School. So I would like for you, Madam Chair, or some administrator in the district to explain to me what the word violent mean. When they say violent report, he left, but what does that mean? Okay. How do you define violent? And what needs to be reported in terms of violence? I had to take a kid home today to keep a gang from attacking her. The other thing is the fireman mentioned something about fire. Now, was that about the fire thing being pulled, or about an actual fire, kid setting a fire? Oh, well, you're just not getting reports. A lot of reports are being swept under the rug. Oh, okay, especially about Central High School. I am totally moved. So I'm going to do a comprehensive report for you, and I'll turn it in to the superintendent and to Assistant Superintendent Roger Leone and Mr. Ingold. And it was one other area that drugs. Students sit in class and tell me how they're getting into the building, okay? They tell me how they're getting into the building. And it's not through metal detectors, because metal detectors do not detect, they do not detect. No, I haven't been here 3 minutes.
No, I'm keeping the time. It's actually not.
I understand. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. The metal detectors don't pick it up, but they're coming into infiltrating Central High School as never before. And they're fighting like they're losing their mind. Nobody want to listen to me, okay? All this stuff has been swept under the rug because this is the mayor's baby. Oh, okay, Central High can't be like that. Yes, it can, okay? Central High is no different from week other schools that Mr. No, right here. Lewis. Y'all don't know I done got old. The names escape me. Reported. Okay. So I'm going to do some reporting. I had planned on cruising out this year at 75, but it just seems that I try to sit around and pretend everything is all right. No, it's not.
Ms. Robinson, thank you. That is your time. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Can we please wait till the end? Thank you. No, you won't. Write it down. Next speaker is Sheila Montague.
Hello, everyone. Sheila Montague, District Leader for West Ward, 49th District. Again, just to reiterate what I just, what the young lady said before me, a lot of concerns here, really concerned with the fact that 119 students are retained. Just concerned to know if anyone did some type of research to find out if there were any interventions put in place. If they're getting tutoring even now to ensure some academic success as we move forward. Also really concerned with the reports about having cocaine inside the schools. The schools are a place that should be a safe haven and should be drug-free, and every effort should be put forth to ensure just that. And I don't understand what's being done. I see a lot of people writing, and I don't know what's being done. I hear the reports and they sound tragic. Some of the things sound overwhelming, and I just want to know what is being done. Why are the filters not in yet? It does not take 100 months to put filters in. The testing, like where are we with ESA? Has that been implemented yet? What are we doing? And if Chris Surf can't be bothered to sit here for a meeting, I'd be curious to know, because especially you four in the back right here, I don't know who you are. Like when you see him, do you have these conversations? Does this bother you morally? Does it bother you ethically? Like over coffee or at the coffee lounge, do you talk to him like nothing is going on? Since this guy has been here, hundreds and hundreds of young people have been killed in this city. We have students that are in school. These are human beings. Does it bother you? Is your tone that of being upset when you say good morning to this man? Or do you just not care? Because I see you, you're here, you never say anything, you don't even say your name. I saw a parent just stand here from West Side, never mind the fact that she has to probably walk home tonight, right? Nobody even gave her.
Ms. Montague, could you please address the board?
I am.
Yeah, the
nobody,
board.
I don't know who they are, but they're here, right? And so they're always here.
Ms. Montague, please address the board.
Yes, in all due respect, I hear you.
Thank you.
So I'm just concerned with these things because these things matter, and they don't matter just to the life of academia, right? So they matter to human life as it is. And if you guys have a say-so, and if you guys have an opportunity to reach him, to talk to him, to impede upon him, how important it is that he takes the job seriously that he has. He's making hundreds and thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money from this city, and it's like he's not even held accountable. And while I understand that we may not have the physical power to physically yank him from these seats and get him out of here, he should feel a certain level of coldness as he moves back and forth through this district, back and forth through this school system. He shouldn't feel comfortable. And all that I'm imparting on you tonight is to consider the words that I'm saying. Consider this one parent who is sitting here from West Side saying that they don't even have school books. Who's really responsible for the deaths of the students that are happening here in Newark? And lastly, I want I want everybody who is participatory in gang violence to stop being given an open pass to enter in schools like Wickway High School to talk to students over and over and over about gang-related activities, because they shouldn't be allowed in.
Thank you, Ms. Montague.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Denise Crawford, followed by Stephen Outing.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to talk about, I heard a couple of things tonight. One was about spending money without approval. I'd like to know a little bit more about that, because if you're spending money without approval, that's a big problem. I'd like to know what they spent the money on. I just can't understand how that can happen. Then the other is now that I'm on CPAC and I'm the treasurer, so it's you're talking about special need grant money being sent back. I don't see how this district can afford to have anything sent back, and with all the problems with special needs, we should have spent that money some kind of way without returning it. So I'd like to know more about that, because to make sure that that doesn't ever happen again. Citywide Parent Conference, I'd like to thank everyone who participated in that. It was great things happening. I really want to thank the staff and the board because folks came out, and that was great. The vendors were, really great. I'm talking about myself too. But it should have been covered more. Normally, you have your community engagement officers who's supposed to have 10 folks present there. It didn't happen. They dropped the ball, okay? So we need to make sure that that doesn't happen again. We're spending money, we got good money, and they put it to use, and everybody that participated, again, did a great job. I want to thank you for that. Community Engagement Committee. I want to suggest, Madam Chair, that community engagement ask, because I am a PTA leader, that the PTA is a part of that, or the PT others is a part of that. I'm getting really frustrated that the schools are trying to run our organizations when we have bylaws and guidelines, and we do train our people. I said this before. And so how are you going to have a committee if you don't have the right people on the committee? So I'm volunteering to be on that committee. Find me a space, please. I keep asking for the Parent Advisory Board. I'm being told, because Mr. Lewis said, I love to talk to my lawyers, because it's illegal for us not to have that. I keep asking for it to come back, and everybody is acting like they don't hear me. So I don't know if I need to put it in writing or something, but I like to talk to the lawyers, okay? And I just want to say, we're trying to work together, but it's impossible to work with people who do not wish to work with us.
Thank you, Ms. Crawford.
Have a great, can I say one more thing?
If
Have
you
a
can say
great
it quickly.
holiday.
Yes.
All right? And thank you for all that everybody do.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Deacon Outing from Metropolitan Baptist Church, representing the National Action Network, Newark. And this Saturday, we're going to have the great Reverend Sharpton, and he's going to be speaking at Metropolitan at 149 Springfield Avenue. We're going to Washington, D.C., and I want everybody to get on the bus, community leaders, advisory board meetings. Please try to stop by 5 o'clock Saturday. We got a very important meeting. I'm here tonight because I wanted to discuss the situation with the One Stop. And I was outraged when I found out that they sent a lot of children to my daughter's school, and the classrooms are overcrowding. They got, I think I was informed that the district policy is 23 children in the classroom. We have 33 children in my daughter's classroom. And I came in a little late when advisory board member Owens was speaking in reference to that, and I wanted to speak to you afterwards, Ms. Owens, because I'm very concerned. We need to do a forensic audit of all the schools in the Central, South, and West Ward and in the Ironbound to see that the appropriate steps be taken, Madam President, because it's outrage to have 33 children in the classroom. And one of the teachers was telling me they're trying to work with a certain group of children to bring them up to speed with the instructional learning, and the other kids that may be more advanced are being left behind. And another footnote, Madam President, if we're going to have this park exam, Madam President,
and it's based on the computer. And we have, if let's say, I don't know what the numbers are, if we have 30,000 students in the district, Madam President, we need 30,000 Chromebooks for the children. And one suggestion I would like to make, Madam President, is that we need to go back to the minimum basic skills so we can start with the basics, the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Did I say that right? Arithmetic, when you were teaching in these districts, and phonics, because this is just outrage. I do not believe in Park. I think it's a farce. I think it's designed to leave our children left behind and in this digital divide, and it's not good for our children. And the math component of it, it deals with if they get the right answer on a math problem and they don't complete the formula in a timely manner, they're penalized for that if they don't show the formula. So this is just another way of leaving our children left behind. And I just want to say this to you, Madam President, no weapon formed against our children shall prosper. We have a responsibility, we have a duty as leaders in the community for every generation to fight for the rebirth for our people. You've been in education a long time. I watched you over the years. We need something to be done. Enough is enough.
Thank you. Next speaker, Lyndon Brown, followed by Wilhelmina Holder, and then final speaker is Lucius Jones.
Good evening, Lyndon Brown, 220 South 6th Street, Newark. First, I want to talk about the district calendar. I don't know who's planning the calendar for the year, but last month we were off on election day. We had school the day before. Then the kids were off Thursday and Friday, but they did have to go back on Wednesday. And then they had the following Friday off, and then they were off December 7th. I don't know it's very, very disruptive for instructional academic instruction. It's disruptive for food service. It's disruptive for families. It's disruptive for school security. We need to get our calendar together. We should have had the whole week out, the first week of November, so that our families can properly plan for babysitting, vacations, whatever. It's just very unorganized. And other districts just had the whole week out. The One Newark enrollment has really had an adverse effect on parental involvement and engagement. When we had parent-teacher conference day, there were parents having to go to 2, 3, 4 different schools. I had a parent at 13th Avenue School who had 2 kids at 13th Avenue School, 2 at Lewis A. Spencer, and 1 at Malcolm X. Shabazz. And it was just impossible to get to all three schools on the bus. And then it was torrential rain that day. We need to look at, dismantling this One Newark enrollment. I'm still running into students who are in need of bus tickets, walking from, they live across the street from Dr. King School, walking to University High School. I met a parent tonight. Her granddaughter's been walking there for 2 years. She cannot even afford reduced prices. She just cannot afford bus tickets. So we need to look at helping our families who have been inconvenienced by One Newark. So student attendance, I know, is dismal. I would love to get a assessment of what the attendance has looked like from September to now. I want to commend those schools who did an excellent job at holiday outreach. I went to quite a few Thanksgiving dinners. Westside had a wonderful tree giveaway on Saturday. They gave away coats. We just need to promote more of these wonderful activities and events that are going on in Newark Public Schools. After-school programs in some of our schools, we really need to look at that. I'm very disturbed that, a lot of our kids are not engaged in after-school programming as they were years ago. Some of that is on the fault of the principals. Some of that is on the fault of the district. And One Newark, a lot of the kids can't stay because they had to get home after school. We got to look at all of that. But, just even at First Avenue School, they may have 15 or 1,600 students. Only 19 or 20 students are enrolled in that Boys and Girls Scouts of Newark satellite site. They came there. They were charging $10 a year. Now, this year, they're charging $75 a month. And the parents cannot afford that. So we don't need vendors in our schools who are going to be creating hardships for our students. The enrollment dropped as a result of those parents being charged $75 a month, especially when you have 3 or 4 children. Guidance in our schools really need to be looked at. There's a lack of communication with our students. as far as SATs and how often they are eligible to take that, college applications and admission process. We need more professional development for our guidance counselors in our schools.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you. Next speaker, Ms. Holder.
I won't. It's just off the track. Good evening, first of all. I'd like to ask the question again for the second time in 2 months. When is the date of the transition committee that we can start looking at the alternative plan to One Newark enrollment? There are people in the community that have been traveling around the district, and we have some ideas of how we can make this thing happen by making sure One Newark enrollment goes away and there's equity and fairness to the students and parents who live in their local districts. So I'd like to have a deadline, a date on when that meeting is going to occur, as well as the curriculum committee meeting. What date is that going to be so that the parents and those who want to get involved, and there's quite a few who want to get involved with the curriculum instruction committee here at the board. The other issue is One Newark enrollment is very destructive to parental engagement. We've been looking at that in various schools, high schools, elementary schools. The parents are not able to attend the evening meetings or the afternoon or Saturday meetings because they live out of the area and they can't afford the transportation. They have babysitting challenges and just life challenges. So I really am advocating that we get rid of this year. This year, 2017 should look different for us, and we should not be talking about One Newark enrollment. So please help us. We'd like to be involved in that. The other issue, of course, is Central High School. There are overcrowded classes still as of this date. And we have not corrected that, Brad Haggerty, and I want to know why. The parents and the PTA met the other day. We had an informal meeting, and we are absolutely disgusted at the large numbers that still exist as of this moment in Spanish, in art, in physical ed, U.S. history, let me see what else, science. Over 35 kids. You can't do that, and you wonder why there's incidents of fighting and other things going on because the school's overcrowded. Then we have a lack of qualified teachers. That's another thing in those areas. We need algebra 2 teachers, we need science teachers, we need physical ed teachers. This is now December the 13th. It doesn't take this long to do right by children, Brad Haggerty. And so we'd like to meet with you and Robert Gregory, and let's figure this thing out now before the kids graduate, because harm is being done. And I also would like to have a walkthrough of not just Central High School, my alma mater as well, Week Way High School, because I'm getting some very disturbing reports. Substance abuses in all of the buildings. We are not addressing the substance abuse issues. Children are using drugs, whether it's pills, cough medicine, whatever it is. There's no remedy for these children. There's no intervention. You can't just talk to children when they're hooked on drugs. That's ridiculous. We have to have something in place, someone in place, hands-on, helping the children through this horrible situation. We have talented children here in this district that are not being served. So I'd like to look at everybody's salary and see where we can cut it to hire substance abuse coordinators. And then lastly, our superintendent should not have left this meeting to go to the charter school meeting at the Newark Museum when this is the real curriculum here.
Thank you, Ms.
This is the
Holder.
curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones.
Greetings, board members.
Good evening.
Good evening. You know, I didn't want to miss the last board meeting for the year because I haven't been here for a minute, but it gave me an opportunity to assess myself and to do an assessment of what the fight is all about. And going back out to the schools and visiting the schools and being a part of the schools, and I shake my head. I just shake my head in embarrassment of the conditions that the kids have to live under. One example, I was at Rutgers University at Dana's Library, and I seen hundreds and hundreds of white, Latinos, and Portuguese, and all different nationalities in Dana's Library, while we are turning our libraries into senior centers. You know, but I don't have to get up here and tell the board members what you already know. The reason why you don't respond, because one, you don't have to, and the other one, You already know all these answers. You know all these problems that exist. Some of you have been on the board for 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms, 5 terms. You already heard these issues over and over again. I blame 2 people for the condition that we're in. You know, I don't even blame the mayor. And the reason why I don't blame the mayor is because I think the mayor has given the board very specific instructions. His instruction is do everything in your power to get us back to local control. But he did not say sell out. He didn't say that. When you look at what a board is supposed to be doing, you're supposed to be creating policy and making sure the administration enforce the policy that are on the books. That's what every other suburban school district, you can watch them on FiOS, on Cablevision, you see them up there talking about the academic and student achievement and how black kids can compare to Spanish children and to white kids. You see it up there on TV all the time, from Clifton, all over the TV, Cablevision. But the problem we have here is that we talk about so much stuff, we got so many priorities, but none of the priorities are really geared to what's in the best interest of children. You say, Lucius, I beg to differ. Then let's beg to differ. Saturday, I got to go pick up a young lady at Morgan. She's been in there since September. We got to rent a U-Haul and bring her back. That says a lot about what we're doing. That is a clear reflection of what we're doing for kids. Not because she's not smart, because we didn't deal with the challenges. And I have a senior who's getting to graduate from university. I am not happy with the quality that's come out of university in the last 4 years. For a matter of fact, I kind of thought I was in a comprehensive high school at one point. This is what we have come down to. We've come down to that we don't have the values to sit up that Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman and all of our leaders before us have. To step up and say, you know what? We don't have to act like animals behind the mic as board members, but we must act intelligent. Because if we don't act intelligent and do what's in the best interest of children, then you know what? This whole city of Newark is going to not have a future. We have the highest unemployment rate. Black children are getting murdered all over the city. We're in the triple figures. It's a reflection of the educational system. We're putting 3rd and 4th grade students out in the hallway. 3rd and 4th grade students are now being put out in the hallway. I guess they're going to have a restorative meeting by themselves. See, nobody's watching what's happening really to children. Or is it that you're not watching what's happening to our children? And so, SURF has his obligation, and he has his fiduciary responsibility to the state and to his stakeholders. And board members, you should have the same, regardless of who you work for, who signs your check or doesn't sign your check. You have an obligation to society to produce the highest quality educated young person that you can produce. And I hope that I can be a part of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The floor is now open for new business. That concludes our public speaking for this evening. I would like to ask all board members to please speak once and to please be concise as the hour is late. Thank you. Ms. Gaddy and Mr. Jackson.
I just wanted to comment real quickly on a couple of speakers, but also mention again the student who passed of asthma from the school. This was a report that I was in, The Voice, dealing with asthma. I've been talking about this for over 10 years. And our children are dying in this city. And I would like to get a report of the asthma management plans that we have in each of the schools and the process that these nurses are following. Because I understand the student had the asthmatic attack on Thursday in the school. Parent came in, all the procedures was done correctly. Child went home, had another asthma attack, and unfortunately died. That is a serious problem. And we need to get a handle on that situation. There's a lot of toxic air in our schools. There's a lot of toxic chemicals. I could go on, but I'm just going to stop. But so I would like to have that follow-up information.
Could you just follow up with an email to be sure that
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
In terms of Ms. Crawford, she mentioned she's ready to roll up her sleeves and help out with community engagement. We are planning for the next community engagement listening session for February to have voices of the community. I just want to remind Ms. Crawford that I try to bring back the Parent Inclusion Committee, which consisted of parents on the committee. When I chaired that years ago, that was something that was not accepted by this district. We have a community engagement committee. All of our committees are only committees of board members and staff. And so what the compromise was that with the community engagement committee, we would have 3 meetings of the year within the community. And so the next one we're planning is in February, and I will follow up with you to get your input so that you could assist us. But I just want to clarify that. So it's not that we don't want the participation. The committee is not set up where we can bring outside members into our committee. So I want to be clear on that. Right. We could talk about that. And so that's why, as I mentioned in my report, we are trying to get a handle on all the PTAs and PTOs that's in the district. As was recorded, we have a list of 24 from last month. Right now it's up to 37. So we want to make sure that we increase that number, and we're going to be actively participating and engaging the members of those committees. As it relates to Science Park, I was invited. I'll be at the PTA meeting tomorrow to address not only some of the concerns you mentioned, but also the student. I was invited to come and speak and hear some of the concerns. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Gaddy. Mr. Jackson?
And then
Yes, and then Ms. Owens.
Thank you. Just really quickly, we've talked about this for quite some time, and the rampant drug abuse is nothing to be surprised about here in the city of Newark, and moreover in Newark Public Schools. This issue goes back decades, and in fact was a very hot topic issue even with drug counselors in the schools when I was attending Malcolm X Shabazz just a few years ago. I say all that to say this. The board and Newark Public Schools has been presented with unprecedented amount of evidence and cases, if you will, of the rampant drug usage. I didn't want to say overdose. Usage in our schools and involving our students. It would behoove the administration of the district to look at ways in which we can try to implement and or bring back substance abuse counselors in Newark Public Schools, because clearly they are needed. I do understand that supposedly schools have different programs and different staff members to tackle such issues, but what is the evidence of that? To be honest, when we did have SAT coordinators, that program itself wasn't as strong as it should have been because the lack of resources available. So I say all that to say this. I'm asking that the district, either with assistant superintendents or with department heads, with whichever way this may fall, to look at ways we can implement the enforcement of our drug policies and or helping students get the proper counseling that they need to try to curtail this issue.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Owens.
Thank you. Most of what I have to say is really just reiterating a lot of the points that folks came up and talked about at the mic during public participation. it is our duty as a board to create and enforce policy. That should be first and foremost. And honestly, we don't talk about policy enough. Not even the policy that regulates this board itself. I mean, just looking at some of the policies over the last couple of months, the vast majority of them haven't been revised since 2010. That's 6 years ago. And as Ms. Cole pointed out, the drug policy referring to the drug counselors, and we don't even have SACs anymore. I mean, all of that should have been revised at some point in time, but it was allowed for that not to happen because all of these other things were being moved, namely under Superintendent Cammie Anderson, that had nothing to do with actually moving this district forward and the progress, particularly the academic achievement of our students. So that needs to be said, and like I said, reiterated really, because you all were saying that. I agree with Ms. Montague that Superintendent Serve should not feel comfortable walking through this district. It's very nice to be able to, have the photo ops for our students who are successful and give them congratulations, but we need to be real about what's happening in this district as well and not just try to sweep things under the rug or ignore them or not respond because somebody didn't send an email. Anything that is said in these public meetings, somebody or some people are writing it down and it should be responded to quickly. No one, such as myself, should have to follow up 3, 4, and 5 times when we've clearly asked for something to happen. We need to have mutual respect between this board and the district, and that's a big part of the reason why a lot of things go unanswered, because I feel like a lot of the administrators in this district, as I pointed out before, it comes from the leadership, Superintendent Sir, feel that they can act with, without getting in trouble. They don't have to respond to the board members just because we are under state control, and that needs to change. And, I'm sure that'll be in the transition plan next fall as we're working towards governance. It's going to be a brand new day. So that'll be interesting, and I'm glad I'll be on this board to see how that works. Last, around attendance, a couple things, attendance. I'm sure that's not looking very good because the attendance subcommittees are still being formed, right? So we got rid of attendance counselors. Now every single school is supposed to have an attendance subcommittee with different people from the school on this subcommittee, and the district is still trying to get those list of names from the different schools. So we shouldn't expect attendance to look very good at this point. Hopefully it'll get better for the second half of the school year. And last, around the enrollment committee, just from the work that we've been doing in program and instruction and looking at enrollment and class sizes, I don't think that committee is something we really needed to wait for to get a response. So even if the district didn't want to work with us as the board, we could have still convened some sort of committee to start to put down the different questions and the different aspects that we wanted to look at concerning enrollment, and then move forward accordingly. So those are just all my comments, and thank you everyone for their participation.
Thank you. Mr. Salinger?
Yes, good evening, and I hope everybody has a good holiday. I just want to say the fire department, when a kid pulls an alarm, starts a fire, anything to do with fire, we have a program that we started about 6 years ago, and they go through a 6 to 8 week course where the first time they see what they did, we show them films, we talk to them, we talk to the parents the first meeting to set everything up. They just moved my office into with the police community affairs. I'm sure they have a program just like that, but just the school administration, they should find out if they do. Now I'm going to find out when I go to work tomorrow, and I'm going to ask them because I know they go to a lot of schools. But the only way you get help is if you go out there and get the people. If nobody asks, nobody does nothing, you won't get the help. So we got to start with programs like that too to help. Because out of the last year, we had about 20 kids at least. And it's been a while. It's been a while. Now we just had another one. But we actually hold their file until they get out of high school. If they don't get in trouble, we give them their file, we rip it up when they graduate. And it's a great thing because I have children that call me up and say, I'm graduating, can you bring my file? And I actually go to the graduation and I throw it away. I show them, but they learn. So I think a program should be set up with the NPS and do it like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Salinger, second by Ms. Gaddy, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Have a good evening.